All right. Welcome to Unfiltered. This is a side note. If you are enjoying these unfiltered videos, please share these videos with someone. Please tell a friend. Please press the like button and please subscribe to this channel. It helps this platform to grow, and for that I am truly grateful. Today I'm going to be reading out of Matthew chapter 13. We're going to start at verse 44. It says, the parable of the hidden treasure and the pearl. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. I'm going to read that again. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. For so many years, I was looking for something to make my life complete. I was looking for something. I was searching desperately, trying to find something that made my life actually worth living. Paul says, the things that were gained to me, I now consider these things loss. In fact, I consider everything a loss to the surpassing knowledge of knowing Christ, to the value of being found in Christ, to know God, to be a part of His family. He said, I used to hold these things in great value. I used to think these things were so important. But now the things that were once gained to me that I thought were important, I consider them all a loss because I have now found Christ. And he said, because of Christ, I have lost all things. I have lost everything and consider it nothing but rubbish. They have no value at all. The things that I thought were important, I lost all of that. And I came to found Christ. And when I found Him, it was so amazing that the things that I lost didn't even matter anymore. I thought they were important, but they're not important anymore. He said the kingdom of heaven is like a man who found treasure in a field. When he found it, he was so excited. And in his joy, he went and sold everything he had in order to buy that field. It's like a merchant. The kingdom of heaven is like a merchant who's looking for fine pearls. And when he finds one of great value, then he is willing to sell everything he has just to purchase that one. It's interesting because in this parable, this man finds this treasure in a field. And that treasure is of such value and it is so amazing that he's willing to sell everything he had just to buy that field. You know, he could have built up stuff in his life. He could have collected things. All of these things. He sold all that he had. Everything, not just some. Jesus says he was so excited about finding this treasure. And in his joy, he went and sold. He didn't reluctantly sell everything that he had. Well, I don't really want to get rid of this. No, he said, this right here that I have found, it changes everything. Now that I have found this, everything I used to think was important, it just isn't. And so he goes in every part of his previous life. He's willing to sell everything he has just to buy the field that has the treasure in it. And the merchant looking for fine pearls, he's looking for all these jewels, and then he finds one of great value, and he is willing to sell everything that he has in order to purchase that one. You know, for so many years I lived in darkness. I was blind. Maybe you relate. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. When I looked in the mirror, I remember looking back on myself saying, is this it? Is this all that life is? Pain and suffering, and all my friends and family die, and everyone's going to prison, and everyone's getting cancer and sickness. And is this it? Is this all that life is? I had no purpose. I had no joy. I hated life. I was lost. I hated myself. I was looking for something that would make my life complete. I was trying to find my way in this world, and this world is so cold. It's so harsh. It's so hard. And you know, you can be traveling down a road for years that has no value. You can be investing your time into something that ends up being nothing. People invest in businesses, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you've just invested your money and your time into something that falls apart. And that was me for many years. I was spinning my wheels, chasing after things that have no value. And that's what Paul said. He said, look, the things that I used to think were important, compared to knowing Christ, they've lost all their value. It's not that these things didn't have value, but the surpassing knowledge of knowing Christ, it is far more superior than these things that I was chasing. Paul used to have status. He calls himself a Hebrew of Hebrews. He went to all the good classes. He got all the nice rings. He checked all the boxes. He had such a status in life. And you know, humans in business and in other arenas, they pursue status. They want power and wealth. They want everyone else to think they've done something. And they're just constantly running up the ladder. Paul was doing that. And he had achieved such a level of success. He had such a reputation. He had worked so hard. He said, look, if you think you have reason to brag, I have more. And he lays out his credentials. I was a Hebrew of Hebrews. He said, I was of the tribe of Benjamin. He just lays out all of these credentials. He speaks all of the letters behind his name. He went and got his undergrad here, and he got his master's degree here, and he did this, and he did that, and I married this, and I did that. Like, he's laying out all of the things that humans think are important. He had worked so hard to get where he was. And then one day, he's in a field, and he finds this treasure in this field. And in his joy, he goes and sells everything he has to get that treasure. That's Paul. He said, knowing Christ has caused me to lose everything, but everything I lost, it had no value. I consider it rubbish. I consider it nonsense. Every now and then you have this moment where you wake up and you say, man, this stuff that I'm doing, it just doesn't make any sense. I've been looking for something. And sometimes when God opens your eyes and he introduces himself to you, sometimes you find a treasure that is so important that you are willing to give up on everything that you thought was important. All the time that you were investing, where you were going, the direction your life was going, you're willing to totally change all of that. Some people go to college and halfway through they decide, I don't really want to do this as a career. I want to do something else. Or maybe they even get a degree. They get out in the field and they decide, you know what, this is not me. Paul, he was into all of this until he met Christ. Oh, and then when he met Christ, everything changed. See, this treasure that I have found, this pearl that is so amazing. I was willing to give up on everything that I thought I was in order to become who he says I am. And this treasure, this walk with God, my relationship with God, everything that I've been through, it's so important that I'm willing to give up on who I thought I was in order to become who he says I am. Paul is willing to give up all of his human credentials so that he may be found in Christ. He said, all of that stuff I'm giving up, it has no value. And it says in that story, in the parable, in his joy. So he's happy to give it up. Because why? Because sometimes you can have all this status, you can have all this wealth, but you can still be miserable on the inside. Very famous people at the top, at the pinnacle of their career, they overdose and die. Sometimes you hear a famous person who has millions and millions of dollars, and they'll be interviewed and they'll say, I am so unhappy. Because sometimes in life we pursue all of these things that we think have value, that we think are important. Just when we actually obtain them and we get them, we find out this is nothing. I'm investing all my time in something that's worthless. Paul was at the pinnacle of his life. And he said, I lost all of that and I consider it all rubbish. The things that used to be important to me, they're all a loss, that I may gain Christ. I used to think these things were valuable. I think they held weight. I thought they were worth pursuing. And now I've come to find out they're not worth pursuing at all, because I have found the one thing that sustains me. I was tormented for most of my life, and now I have peace. That came from God. I'm willing to give up on who I thought I was so that I may become who he says I am. See, God is not just this thing. He actually comes and blesses your life. If I didn't have peace, if I didn't have joy, I wouldn't even be making these videos. If God hadn't changed my life, if I wasn't happy, if I didn't have direction and destiny and purpose, if God was not all of these things to me, I wouldn't even be making these videos. But I spew this truth out because it's been my experience. God has been so good to me that I am willing to sell everything I had, the things that I once thought were important, just to gain Christ and be found in Him. Have you ever imagined how amazing Jesus must have spoken and how His speeches must have been so incredible that He speaks and does a few things and then He starts calling His disciples, Peter and John, Andrew and all of them. He's like, drop everything you're doing and follow me. It didn't matter what their occupation was, what they were pursuing. These men, they found some treasure that was so amazing and so valuable that they were willing to give up on what they used to be doing to give all of their time to God, to follow Jesus wherever He went. There were good days, there were bad days. They began to be the pillars of what we now know about Jesus. When He died, they spread His name throughout the world. These men could have said no. They could have been so distracted by pursuing things of no value that right in front of them is everything that will ever make you happy. And they could have said, no, I'm okay doing this. See, it's all about choice. You have a choice to make. That man in that field, he found this treasure that was so valuable. He was so valuable. It had such a value in it. It was so important and so impressive and so amazing that he was willing to sell everything he had just to get that. All of these things used to be important. They don't hold weight anymore. The disciples met Jesus and they were willing to sacrifice everything they were doing in order to follow Him. They didn't even know where He was going. They definitely had no idea how it was going to end. They didn't even know what they were getting themselves into. That's what this walk of faith is all about. I can't tell you all of the details about how your life is going to be, but I'm going to tell you this, it's going to be worth it. He changes Simon's name to Peter. He becomes the rock. I mean, all of these men, they didn't really have any value before they met Jesus. They were just ordinary people that most people probably just ignored. But yet Jesus gave them worth and value. They were willing to sacrifice everything they thought was important to follow Him. And He didn't even tell them specifically what was going to happen. That's where this walk of faith comes in. See, I was lost for so many years. I didn't know what I was doing, who I was, where I was going. But then I found this treasure in a field, and I'm willing to sacrifice and walk away from everything I thought was important because this is the solution. After having done all, I stand. I am satisfied. You know, I was looking for something. And I didn't really know exactly what I was looking for, but when I found it, I stopped looking and I celebrated that which I had found. I was looking, just lost, like a wave in the sea, to and fro, bouncing off of this, beaten up by that. But then I found something. I found this treasure, and it was so important and so amazing to me that I stopped searching. I realized this is everything I need. He supplies all of my needs. He takes care of me. He directs my steps. He gives me peace and removes my torment. He lets me laugh and smile. He causes my cup to run over so that I can be a blessing to those around me. See, there's never a drug or a drink that's ever made me feel the way I feel right now. I have satisfaction. This treasure is so important that I am willing to give up on everything I thought was important so that I may gain Christ, so that I may purchase this field that has this treasure in it. That man sold everything he had just to buy the field that had the treasure in it. I'm willing to put up with whatever I need to put up with so that I may walk with Christ, because this is the only thing that satisfies. Paul said, by knowing God, by knowing Christ, I lost everything. And I don't care. They think it was a loss, but to me, it was gain. Those things that used to be a gain to me, that's a loss. And the things you think I'm losing, I'm not losing, I'm really winning. When I was helping that lady in Meals on Wheels, it appeared as if I was my time. I was volunteering my time to help her, but she was really helping me. Paul is saying the same thing. You think I'm losing something, I'm gaining everything. The way you see life right now, the people around you, they may not see it. You may be the only one who's having this experience right now. You might be sharing it with other people, but they just don't get it. The only thing that matters is that you get it. If God is speaking to you and you are hearing Him clearly, that's all that matters. You're not going to get an amen and an attaboy from people around you. There's not going to be the red carpet rolled out for you at times. Sometimes you're going to have to know what you know, and you're going to have to know it by yourself. Always knowing that you're never alone, because God is with you every step you take. When he's trying to get your attention, other people, they may not be paying attention at all, but guess what? You are. You may have to grab a hold of this with everything you have and say, you know what? I'm hearing God, and I'm going to walk this way. I'm going to sell everything I used to have, everything that was important to me, just so I can follow this. This is so important, I'm giving up on what I used to think was important. Paul gave up on everything, and he said, it's nothing to me, because now that I have gained Christ, I have found everything. See, I spent many years of my life looking for something to make my life satisfying, to make it worth living, to make my life complete. I found what I was looking for. I found what I was looking for. And it satisfies me in all levels, at all times, every day. His love sustains me without limitation. I grow stronger every day. And even during the hard times, he's given me strength. And I'm a lot stronger now than I used to be. And I lean on people when I need to, and people lean on me. And I live in this world full of broken people that are full of pain and suffering. And I'm here and I bring forth joy because his light and his love is inside of me. I'm willing to let go of who I thought I was, so that I may become who he says I am. I'm willing to let go of who I thought I was, so that I can become who he says that I am. I'm willing to walk away from the things I thought were important, so that I may gain something of true value, something that is unshakable, something that gets stronger and stronger every day. I am tapped into unlimited wisdom, unlimited joy. My cup, it doesn't just fill, it runs over. See, I was looking for something. I found what I was looking for. That man sold everything he had because this was that important. Is God that important to you? Let me tell you something. If you walk down this road, you will not regret it. Never once have I regretted giving my life to God. I do not miss those years in chains. I do not miss those years being beaten down and broken and depressed and anxious. I was just nothing. I was a shell of the man I am today. I was a shell, just a shell of the man I am today. I was lost and I was alone. But you know what? I never walk in darkness now because his light is always with me. He has been so faithful. Is that where you are today? Have you found that treasure in a field? If you are, like the disciples, you need to be willing to give up on everything you thought was important so that you may follow God. Cling on to this with everything you have, and right around the corner, there will be times of refreshing. He will turn your darkness into light, your torment into peace and joy and laughter. He will give your weakness a boost, and you will have strength. You will be able to do with ease what used to be so overwhelming for you. Everything that happened in life was just beating me up. I was so weak. I was so frail. Any little thing that happened, I just couldn't handle it. You ever know somebody who can't handle anything? No matter what goes on in your work, they're going to have a breakdown. Oh my goodness, I can't believe. And then there's other people, no matter what goes on, they have a level head. See, I went from being a man who panics to a man who is confident. I used to be a man who was like Chicken Little. The sky's falling, everything's falling apart, to everything's going to be okay. I don't see how all of the dots are going to connect, but I see him. See, what I have found, this treasure has such value. It's so important to me. I smile. I am so glad that my life is in God's hands. He will transform you. He will turn your weakness into strength, your immaturity into maturity. He will take away your fear and give you a courageous spirit. He'll give you courage when you didn't have any. You'll rise up and do things with ease that used to be so hard to do. And you will see yourself doing things that in the past would have been impossible. But guess what? All things are possible with God. All things are possible for him who believes. So I cling tight to my faith and I believe. This treasure that I have found, it is of such worth and such value that I don't miss anything from my past. All of that is just rubbish, nonsense. It had no value. This has extreme value, the surpassing value of knowing God. And it affects every area of my life, my relationships, my finances, my direction, my hope, my integrity, my peace, my joy, all of it. It's all impacted by my walk with God, My relationship with God has made my life worth living. And I share that with you. Once again, to be visual hope. I used to be lost and beaten down and broken. And now I'm whole. And now I smile and now I laugh. God has been so good to me. Have a wonderful evening.